Cleaning your old game cartridges can be beneficial. If you're a collector and you want to remove the price stickers that some barbarian slapped on the very face of the label art, or if you want to keep your game's appearance fresh, or if you're a player and your games are taking a little too long to get working right. But be warned, cleaning games can be risky. Even something as simple as static electricity can have an adverse effect on them, especially if you open them up. With many old cartridges considered collectibles, you want to make sure you don't accidentally ruin them. My philosophy? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. As long as your games are playing just fine, it may not be worth opening it up to clean it. But if the game does need a good cleaning, here's what my research on the matter has revealed. Your sworn nemesis is moisture. Moisture from your breath blowing into the cartridge. Moisture from the natural oils of your hand. Moisture from using the wrong kind of cleaner. And your best friend is a high percentage isopropyl alcohol. It has the least amount of water in it and evaporates almost immediately. Don't just look for rubbing alcohol. We want a high concentration, although they are the same chemical. We want at least 91%. Aside from isopropyl alcohol, two other handy tools would be heat and compressed air, depending on what you want to accomplish. Some of the finer tools would be Q-tips, a lint-free cloth, and a guitar pick or something like it. And don't forget your own personal protective equipment. Gloves to keep your games safe from your oily skin, and glasses to protect you in case the alcohol splashes. Let's start with this NES game pack that isn't in very bad shape at all, aside from the little bit of dust on the indented shoulder of the pack. Everything else looks clean. But maybe you're the type of person who doesn't like price stickers obstructing the art of the label. In this case, I recommend starting with heat. Heat will start to affect your electronics at about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. A hairdryer runs at average about 284 degrees Fahrenheit at its hottest. The one I use maxes out around 195 degrees. So if you're worried about damaging the card inside the pack, you may want to disassemble the cartridge so you can separate the part you'll be exposing to heat from the card of the game itself. I'm not taking apart the cartridge for this because this game currently sells for less than $10. Now, the ABS plastic of a Nintendo cartridge starts to melt at about 374 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat guns can run up to almost 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why I like to use a hairdryer, so there's no accidental use of heat that will hurt me or the game pack. Once you've warmed up the sticker, you can get your guitar pick or something like it, something with a flat edge but not sharp. Be sure to slide your pick in a movement towards the edge of your label, not against it. This movement will help you make sure you don't accidentally catch the edge of the label you're trying to preserve. Then, as it cools, get your heat back on it. Yes, with a higher heat, the sticker may practically fall off, but I may also end up loosening the label that I'm trying to preserve. And I'm not in the business of buying and selling games, so there's no rush for me to do anything beyond my own collection of games. The hairdryer will help, and that help is good enough for me. As I get to the top of this sticker, I'm going to be extra careful and make sure I'm going towards the edge of the label, not against it. Especially at the corner. That's the easiest part to accidentally start removing the label. Now we've got the residue of the old sticker to deal with. These labels have a glossy finish on them, which gives them a bit more durability than the residue. So you can see if the oil on your hands is enough to just roll the residue off the label. Again, going towards the edge, not against it. This method takes a lot of patience. So we're going to get out our isopropyl alcohol and Q-tip. On the gray plastic of the cartridge, we can scrub away. But when you start rubbing the label itself, take your time and take note. You may notice that the alcohol is fading the ink on the label itself. That started happening to my copy of Mega Man X3, so this is as good as he gets. Now this label holds up to the alcohol much better. I'm keeping the cloth going in one direction as I wipe in order to prevent just smearing the residue all over the cartridge. And for a finishing touch, I will dust off that shoulder. Notice how I rotate the Q-tip to help pick up the dust. Now a little bit of our alcohol seeped under the sticker here on top. You can see where it's a little dark around that tricky corner, but since this video, it's dried and the sticker is just fine. Now we're going to give this cartridge, which is in much worse shape, the same treatment as we did the last cartridge. Although with this cartridge, we're going to get on the inside where the pins are that goes into the NES. It's a little dusty, a little dirty, so we're going to start with compressed air. It will blow into the cartridge without the moisture of your breath, but we have to be careful because if you don't keep the can upright while you're pulling the trigger, see what comes out onto the rag. Damn! That liquid can be very cold. In fact, there is a frostbite warning on the can. So always keep the can upright when you're using it to clean out your cartridges. Now that we have blown out the inside of the cartridge where the pins are, we'll give it the same treatment as before. Heat to remove the sticker. Isopropyl alcohol to deal with the residue of the rental store sticker on the sides and the sticker we just removed on the top. Now that we've got it all clean, the inside of the cartridge, where it meets the NES, still looks pretty dirty, and we can get to it with a Q-tip, but it will be easier to clean it off more thoroughly if we take it apart. And for this, we are going to get our game bit screwdriver out. This screwdriver is different from your regular Phillips or flathead, and sometimes a small Phillips screwdriver will work, but for most NES and Super NES games, you'll want to use this game bit that comes in two different sizes. Now that we're getting into the cartridge, we want to get out our gloves to cover up our oily hands before we get into the guts of the game pack. For the 3-screw cartridges like this one, there are tabs on the top. 2 of these tabs are broken anyway, so only one is holding it in place. We're going to try to be gentle with it. This cartridge has obviously had a long, hard life before it came into my possession. Now this silver disc here on the side, that's a battery. It's the same battery that's used for watches, and if you touch it with your oily skin, even if it was a brand new battery, you would significantly reduce its lifespan. These game packs are otherwise pretty durable, but we're still going to treat it like a baby. It's actually funny to see a Sony product in a Nintendo product. But now that we're inside, we're switching to our 99% isopropyl alcohol to make sure it evaporates as quickly as possible so that the moisture is kept to a minimum. Along with cleaning the inside of the plastic, we're going to get our Q-tips and isopropyl alcohol to clean the pins of the card. Now this is a pretty dirty card, and you'll see that when I spin the Q-tip, there's going to be a nice dark smudge of dirt. Sometimes, as a last resort, you could use a pencil eraser to clean these pins, but that is abrasive. To use the eraser, you'll be taking a skin off of the top of the pins. So again, it's a last resort. We reassemble the cartridge. And we call it clean. Here's a little before and after, and then we will test the game to make sure it works.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Success! There are many other techniques out there for cleaning games. Some of them are considered risky, though. These are the techniques that work for me. Thanks for listening to An Old Gamer.